Hey, Greg, you wish for a little more action?
I do wish for more action, Mike.
As you wish, Greg. Let's party! Greg, we're just getting started.
Now this is nice.
You got 2 wishes left.
Boxing King Media in association with the Riyadh season. We are in Riyadh in a beautiful location, amazing backdrop with Mr. Hollywood himself, Gareth A. Davis.
Good afternoon, sir. With a little breeze called, I think it's called Riyah, is the wind, the breeze, the Riyah.
Is that in Arabic?
Yeah, I was asking last night because we're sitting here in the heart of Riyadh, as you say, sponsored by the Riyadh season. Well done. What an amazing event this is. It's great to be here. It's brilliant to be on the ground. It's a beautiful place, and people are fascinated by us being here for what is, you've got to call it an extravaganza. How lucky are we that we get to have the opportunity to be inside this culture for an event. I'll have a little sip on that now, actually. I'll get my Virgin Mary right now. I'll have a little sip and a little vape.
That looks amazing.
Oh, look at that. There we go. Oh, look at that. Excuse me.
Just to let the viewers know, that's non-alcoholic,
It's a
obviously.
Virgin Mary. Not a Bloody Mary. Yeah, it's amazing to be here. Do you know, Riyadh, for me, I mean, I've only experienced it now for 24 hours, but it's got a feeling of everyone's got their thing going on here. And it's very vibrant. I was in an Uber earlier with a young man, Sultan, and he's a music teacher, and then at the university, and then after university he's driving his car, he's playing, told me the location that he plays guitar and piano, Bedouin music, you know. It's just fascinating. People are fascinating here, and that's one of the reasons why I'm delighted to be involved in this, because this is the opening of a Riyadh season. The Riyadh season is Saudi opening to the world, and we're at the beginning of the opening to the world of this 6-month season, and we've got our sports, our heavyweights fighting on this card, you know, and I've been involved in the MMA world for a long time as well. I'm delighted for Francis, I'm delighted for Tyson Fury, and I mean, I can't reveal it now, but the list of champions coming in this week from boxing history is just off the charts. Just bumped into Dewey Cooper, the pad man and trainer and sparring partner of Francis Ngannou, who's lost about 1.5 stone in camp. Yeah, it's great to be here. It's, what is it? It's 4:30 in the evening, 5 o'clock. Sun's just gone down. It's bustling here, and yeah. What do you want to know?
The weather is amazing as well, it's worth saying, and it's interesting that they're doing this Riyadh season thing over the winter months when the weather, you can just walk about outside in a t-shirt and shorts, and I know it's freezing back home, innit?
Yeah, we left the wind and the rain for a tiny little breeze, and just absolutely beautiful weather. It's a half moon at the moment. The stars are starry. The duskiness as the sun goes down here is we're just, I mean, I love Bedouin music anyway, and it just reminds me of Bedouin tribes, and yeah, it's a very, very special part of the world, this, very special.
And again, if anyone's interested, I'd research the Boulevard in Riyadh, and I think it'll blow your mind with how amazing it is. A great family location. Let's get on to the boxing, Gareth. A huge event this Saturday. You've called it an extravaganza. Tyson Fury and Ngannou. We've spoken about the way the fight could go, couldn't go, but let's just say, because I asked Frank Warren this earlier today, there's a couple of scenarios that could get a lot of negative feedback. One, if Tyson stops him in a round or two and makes it look easy. The other one is if he goes to points and it's like it makes it a hard fight. It's almost like, is there any scenario that could happen in this fight where Tyson will walk away with applause?
Without plaudits?
With plaudits.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, look, I mean, the way I see it is that Francis Ngannou will have got his fitness levels up to a very, very high level for this fight, because they know that MMA fighters go through different rhythms when they fight, and they can wrestle for a while and they can grapple. In boxing, obviously, you're separated when that happens. You can't tie up. You can't go against the fence or the cage. So my understanding is that he's ultra fit, and ready to go 10 3-minute rounds, which is what the fight is, of course. If he goes 10 rounds with Tyson Fury, I think his stock rises. I think Tyson Fury might be criticised if he gets him out of there, but we might get a war. You don't know what's going to happen. With heavyweights, you've got to expect the unexpected. I mean, my belief is that Tyson Fury will probably win around the mid-rounds, because I think he'll force Ngannou to gas. But, you know, Fury's got that big, long jab. He knows his way around. Footwork is different for a boxer to a mixed martial artist, the decathlon of fight sports. Yes, I think people are expecting Tyson Fury to get a stoppage, but it's not an exhibition, this is the key. This is a fight. Francis Ngannou is probably going to go hard in the early rounds, because he's probably got opportunities himself to land those very, very heavy hands early on, and that's what he'll look to do, I'm sure. That might be when he's at his most powerful in this fight. But as I say, anything could happen. I think the sword of Damocles that's dangling over Fury is this spectre of Usyk, Alexander Usyk, who we believe may well come into town. We know that the fight's been signed. We don't know exactly when it'll be yet. There's talk of December the 23rd. It may well run into next year, but they are looking at that date. And I suppose if Fury comes out of this fight unscathed, they may well get it on. It's great for us, because I think they do a rematch. That probably puts it towards the end of the Riyadh season, which will be March next year. People, is Fury damned if he does or damned if he doesn't in this? I think there are always critics. There are always critics of everything these days, and everyone's got a voice on social media, so there'll be critics. If Fury knocks him out in a round, there'll be critics. If he goes 10 rounds, there'll be critics. If it's an absolute war for 10 rounds and they're both down and he wins narrowly on points, there'll be critics. I mean, look what happened with Tommy Fury and KSI the other week. That was a really close fight. I had Tommy winning by a round, and yet there's still critics of it, you know? This is the world we live in. Everyone's a critic.
Definitely so. I was thinking, like, how many fighters could the Saudis potentially do this type of event with? Obviously, having a crossover MMA fight. Obviously, Tyson Fury is one of them. Do you reckon you can name maybe another one or two? Frank Warren mentioned Canelo earlier. Anyone else?
Yeah, I can mention probably about 10. Conor McGregor. Who knows? He might fight on that UFC card in March that they've signed. It wouldn't surprise me at all. It's got that kind of resonance here. That's the kind of thing. The Vision 2030, and I've read the paper on Vision 2030. His Highness Mohammed bin Salman is an extraordinary character, extraordinary vision, power, strength. He exudes all those things. A foot in the old school, but a modernizer, a visionary. And the same with His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh. They are visionaries. They are visionaries for a country that wants to emerge into a new dawn. Half of their population is under 25. They want to reach outside their borders, outside their lands, show people what a beautiful, historic, deep, cultural place this is. They want to educate us. They want to educate themselves. And that's what I'm saying. Part of this, as a person who's travelled the world all my life, both with my parents travelling with their jobs and with my work over the last 30 odd years, it's always brilliant to be involved in a period of change where people are coming together, and that's what I find fascinating. I can see Canelo, I can see McGregor, I can see even the YouTubers being involved here, but I think they're into pure sport here as well. I can see the Ryan Garcias of this world, the Tank Davises. I can see all those guys getting involved in this milieu, in this algorithm. I can see Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. I can see John Jones. You know, is that about 10 names? I can see them investing in anyone that's going to have a big resonance and an entertainment value, both for their populace here and across the wider world in the West.
I think that's some valid points there, Gareth. And then obviously Tyson's also got this fight that he's now signed with Alexander Usyk hanging over his head as well. He's obviously a professional. It's pretty obvious that he's not going to ride that through his head as he's going in the ring on Saturday night. But what I want to ask you about is the fact that he had a lot of accusations against him. The fact that people are saying he's not going to fight Usyk, he's going to avoid Usyk, he's going to carry on having these fights, exhibitions for money. But to my understanding, after speaking to Tyson's manager yesterday, and he clarified that they got the backing from Turki Al-Sheikh, and they could have gone anywhere with that fight, but they made the approach to Usyk to make that fight.
I've said consistently, I've said all along, heavyweight boxing, when you get the very best against the very best and undisputed titles, we haven't had one for 24 years, remember, there's a reason for that. The backing for this is enormous. When Tyson Fury would not avoid Alexander Usyk, he's got no reason to. Why would he? Alexander Usyk wants to fight Tyson Fury. Why would he avoid Tyson Fury? It's about the cards aligning. It's about the right money being on the table. It's about the right opportunities, and it's come together. It doesn't surprise me at all that, as you say, His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh has got behind this fight. It's an enormous fight. You'll have a giant resonance in the sports world. Remember, the heavyweight king was called the richest prize in sport at one time when Muhammad Ali was fighting Joe Frazier back in the 70s, and it was the richest prize in sport, and it may yet be the richest prize in sport again. As I've said, it's just about timing. No one was avoiding anyone. It's just that the cards didn't align, and they're being paid in the right way now to get this fight on. I mean, a lot of people have talked a lot of bunkum. Some of my colleagues have talked bunkum about Fury avoiding Usyk.
What does bunkum mean before you carry on?
Nonsense. He's not avoiding Usyk. He's got no reason to avoid Usyk. Tyson plays around and he says he's not interested in legacy, that he's not interested in undisputed. Of course he is. He's competitive. He's a winner. We forget how good he is, how dominant he's been. There's a lot of talk in fight sports, and everybody's got opinions. But for me, the hard, fast facts are Fury and Usyk were always going to meet. It's just the timing's now right.
Well, it's interesting. You obviously brought up the fact that your colleagues have spoken some nonsense, in your words. Obviously, I've been doing some research, reading back some of the old interviews. I think I interviewed Shane Fury the other day, and obviously he made a big point of some of the guys on TalkSport, Simon Jordan. He mentioned Adam Cattrall as well. I think some of the quotes I've got is, Tyson should be ashamed of himself if he doesn't fight Usyk. But I know Simon's also gone on and said that he rated him for fighting Wilder, and obviously with his comeback as well. Also saying that he'll avoid him, he'll duck Usyk. These kind of comments, and these are comments about a guy that came back from losing 10 stones and fighting one of the biggest punchers in boxing history. So obviously, just looking at on the outside, do you think the Furies are right with the action that they've took, where they're saying, well, we're not allowing TalkSport and Simon Jordan into the fight, or do you think that's an overreaction? I
don't think there's. I mean, people are entitled to their opinions, and people are entitled to react as a result. You can't say this should be happening, that should be happening. When it's moral or ethical, yes. When it's drug testing, yes. You can't force fighters to fight. You can't force them to do it when you want them to do it. It's up to them when they want to do it. And they are going to do it. And I've said that all along. These fights will happen before the era's over. You've got to remember, I covered boxing a long time ago when it took 5 years to get Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather in a ring. And they did eventually get into a ring, and it was an enormous event, a huge event. And I've said all along, I believed Fury and Usyk would fight. Other people have had different opinions. That's up to them. But know the facts behind the scenes. Talk to everyone, because you know then what's going on. And I always talk to people behind the scenes. And the people who you mentioned, the teams, can share that veracity. I speak with Hearn, I speak with Spencer Brown, I speak with Frank Warren, I speak with Bob Arum, Todd DeBuff, I speak with people who control and aid the decisions of these fighters, these great, huge heavyweights on their careers. And I've always, I think, been informed. And if I've ever been wrong, I will get a phone call the next day from a promoter to say, no, well, you're slightly off with that. But that's the way you do it. You don't always reveal everything you know either.
On that note, because one of the points that Shane brought up, he said everyone's entitled to an opinion, but he said the issue is when your opinions is based on things that are not factual. Because then he said, because obviously the way it was being printed was that Tyson's not going to have the fight, but obviously behind the scenes things were in play, the negotiations were happening, and obviously on the other side they were seeing, in their words, the agenda was being printed that Tyson's going to avoid him. So can you see the maybe upset on their side from that?
Well, there seemed to be this pro-Usyk feel from everyone, that Usyk wanted the fight and Fury didn't, and I don't agree with that. I never agreed with that. I knew that just timing, ego, money wasn't right. That was it. That is it. Those are the three things that go together. And Wembley on April the 29th didn't stack up. Didn't stack up for Fury, didn't stack up for Usyk. Usyk's team have even said they pulled out of it. So, you've got to remember that everyone wants to choose their own route. The fact that Fury's promotional team aligned with the Saudis, the GEA, with Turki Al Sheikh, with the Riyadh season, meant that suddenly the right gears were in position for it to happen. If you go back to the old days, the reason those kind of fights happened in Vegas was because the hotels, the big hotels, would put up a site fee, and then that fight was there. The purse was available, the drop was big, the residual income that would create around Vegas in that fight week was right, so that the purse was big. This is the pinnacle of the sport. These guys aren't just being paid for one fight. They're being paid for a 20-year career in the sport. They are the very pinnacle, the very end of their careers. We're only a year and a half, perhaps, 2 or 3 fights away from these two guys we're talking about, Fury and Usyk, finishing in the sport. Let's not complain and moan about it. Let's make the most of it. Let's enjoy it.
How was it for you to be in that? Because I know some of these talks that took place, you were present, and I know I'm not really seeing you agree or say or acquiesce them things, but did you feel like you needed to speak up when obviously these sort of opinions were being put about the fight, and the fact that they were saying Fury's going to duck him, he's not going to fight him?
I'm blue in the face from saying over and over again, and on air and broadcasting, he's not ducking anyone. Ducking is running away scared of someone. You're not ducking them, you're just waiting for the timing to be right. There's a distinction in that, and I think people that talk about ducking don't know Fury, don't know heavyweight boxing, don't know Usyk, don't know the background facts, and don't know the history of the way these things work. They don't know. They're just giving an opinion off the top of their head. End of.
Is it fixable? Do you think they'll ever be allowed back in, the whole TalkSport and the Fury family relationship?
I don't know. It's not up to me.
Interesting. Which fight, apart from Fury and Ngannou, you're looking forward to the most? It's probably a stupid question. I know what you're going to say.
Well, I've interviewed Fabio Wardley and David Adeleye last week. Fabio Wardley saying he believes that David Adeleye made of glass and he'll smash him, and David Adeleye saying that he doesn't realise I can box, I can box him, I can punch him. It's a really terrific fight. I see David Adeleye as a marginal favourite. Adeleye saying we won't have done our job right if it goes to 12 rounds. You may ask me as well, should a British heavyweight title fight be taking place here? Yeah, for the British title. Don't see any issue. Don't see any issue with the Boxing Board of Control being involved. I think there's a learning process. It's one of the best boxing boards in the world, if not the best. I think, again, the Saudis want to learn from them and want to use their expertise. I think that's brilliant. But I'm also, I've got time for Arslanbek Makhmudov, who's on the card. Number 5 with the WBC. I think he's number 5. He's one of the dark horses of the division. Martin Bakole, Joseph Parker, Moses Itauma. Moses Itauma could be the future. He was sitting right next to me on the plane on the way over yesterday. Slept all the way. Great kid. 18. What an experience he's having at the age of 18 to come here and be involved in a card of this magnitude. So yeah, really looking forward to it. And I think the fact that Adeleye and Wardley, or Wardley and Adeleye, fight just before Ngannou and Fury walk to the ring, it's going to be spectacular.
It sure is. I'm sure we're going to have plenty of chance to catch up later in the week, Gareth. Thank you for your time, unless you want to add anything else.
No, I'll just have a little vape.
Go for it. Thank you for your time.